I just finished Alex Hormozi's Grand Slam Offers book, and tonight I decided to get curious. I wanted to see if I took Alex Hormozi's value equation for Grand Slam offers and paired it with ChatGPT to see if we could come up with some business opportunities. If you know or don't know Alex Hormozi's $100 million offers book or his Grand Slam offer and value equation formula, we're just going to review it real quick because that's what I fed into GPT to get this process going. So the first half of his equation is a dream outcome multiplied by the perceived likelihood of achieving that outcome for the target audience, then divided by the time delay of getting that outcome times the effort and sacrifice for said outcome. In his book and his teachings, he talks about the goal of having the top half of the equation be really high, or increasing this component, and decreasing the bottom half of the equation in order to come up with a Grand Slam offer. So if we're able to come up with an idea or an offer where the dream outcome is high and the likelihood of achieving that outcome is also very high, and we're also able to have a very low amount of time delay and low amount of effort and sacrifice for the end customer, then we've potentially come up with a Grand Slam offer. So I fed this into GPT, and it did its thing and clarified the offer for me. So it did a really great job of outlining what the offer is and the four components of the offer. So now that we've got this formula in GPT, I was like, cool, let's do some brainstorming, see if we can come up with something. And so it's like, yeah, let's do it. Then before I prompted it for some brainstorming activities, I thought, you know what? Maybe we can ask if there are any GPT plugins that we should be using for a brainstorming session, right? And then it started generating, and I quickly realized that I wasn't specific enough and asked if there were any ChatGPT plugins that we could be using for our brainstorming session. So after it got done generating all the tools and potential options for brainstorming, I got more specific and I said, hey, are there any ChatGPT plugins that would be helpful? And a little bit to my surprise, but looking back on it, not so much, it said, as of its last update, it doesn't have a concept of plugins. And so I thought to myself, well, this is really interesting. GPT doesn't even know about its own features. So I decided to ask, well, do you know of your own beta features? And once again, it responded letting me know that as of its last update in January 2022, it doesn't know its own newest features that are available in it's not even aware of its own stuff yet. So I was like, all right, forget about it. Let's get back to the brainstorming. Do you remember the equation that we talked about? And sure enough, it banged it out. You literally beautifully laid this thing out like it came right out of Alex's book. So I was like, perfect. Let's try to find some micro niches that I may not even be aware of. And I just thought to myself, well, why don't I take a specific example, and we're just going to talk about single working moms that don't have family nearby. Like, what can GPT come up with based on what we talked about with Hormozi's formula to see if there are any business opportunities or business ideas? And it started generating some really interesting or unique business ideas. And I thought to myself, man, these are good. There's something missing. Like, how can I get more out of this? So after it was done generating some of these ideas, I said, hold on, let's take a step back. For each of these ideas or niches that we're coming up with, let's use the four components of Alex Hormozi's formula: the dream outcome, the likelihood, the time delay, and the effort and sacrifice of achieving that outcome. So I asked it very specifically for areas where the dream outcome is high, but the current solutions in the marketplace, time, delay, and effort, are also high. That way, we could try to find opportunities where the bottom half of the equation is super high right now, and then figure out ways where we can drop that down. Because if there's a dream outcome out there that exists and the likelihood of getting that outcome is potentially high, but right now the solutions just don't fit it. They're too expensive. It's too long to get them. The effort required to get those things is extremely high, then maybe we found an opportunity for a business. And so sure enough, after I gave it a little bit more prompting, just super basic, right? We're not talking about complex prompting at all. It started adding some data to those micro niches that we asked it to come up with before. And then at the very end, I thought this was really, really neat, and basically saying, hey, I looked at these ideas that I came up with, and I think these are a couple really interesting solutions that might have that potential of what we're looking for. And those two are emergency childcare networks. This totally makes sense to me. If you're a single parent, you don't have family nearby, you're in a jam, you need somebody to watch your kids, you want to be able to have some sort of emergency childcare system. Say your neighbors aren't available, or your friends aren't available, or whatever it is, it would be great to have access to this. I would say the use case for this is probably very low. It's not as high or not as commonplace that you're going to run into something like this. So it would probably not be a business that I would be interested in pursuing, though I'm sure somebody out there might want to do this, or maybe care.com or Urban Sitter, Urban Nanny, forget what they're all called. Maybe one of these platforms wants to introduce something like this as a feature to its existing product set. The second one, though, is really, really interesting to me, and I haven't had any time to do any research on this, so maybe this concept already exists, where there are meal kit delivery services that are tailored for kids. I know Blue Apron and HelloFresh and Factor, and there's a ton of meal services that are out there that are really geared towards adults. And I don't know of anything that is geared towards kids. And I think this could be a fantastic idea for anybody who wanted to start this business, or if HelloFresh or Blue Apron is out here watching this video by random, which is probably not happening, but it's still a potential in the universe. So it could. But I think this is a really great idea, because if you're a single parent, you don't have family nearby, maybe you don't have that support system, you're coming up with meal plans and grocery shopping and extracurricular activities, homework and all that stuff, man, there's a lot going on. I personally know I'm a single parent, and I know that a meal delivery service for my kids would be awesome. If it was affordable, it got to me, and I didn't have to worry about meals for my kids, I think that would be amazing, amazing, amazing service. So just out of a little bit of prompting here, feeding it a formula of Alex Hormozi, and just brainstorming a little tiny bit, having GPT look into this, I think it came up with a really, really interesting service that might potentially be able to be turned into a business. So if you got some value out of this, drop something in the comments. I'd love to see what you guys have, some more ideas, like what can we come up with. I know personally I'm going to continue to dig into this more and more and more, just out of curiosity. I'm really curious to see how creative I can get with prompting and find out if we get some super hyper targeted micro niches. Not to say I'm going to execute on all these business ideas, that would be a waste. I'm more curious about the research component of it, just seeing what it might be able to come up with by having some more advanced prompting and continuing to dive into Hormozi's formula and see what happens. So if you got some value out of this, like this video, drop a comment. Like I said, I'd love to hear what you guys think, and stay tuned for some more videos. This is my very first video, but I'm definitely going to be sharing some more as I continue to explore alternative ways to prompt GPT using other people's success formulas. Later.